welcome to another episode of Africans Talk Football. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Good, man.
Yeah, this is something special that we got here tonight. This is actually a little midweek quick episode that we have. We know we're running into an international break here. So not a lot of, talk as far as Premier League and the leagues around, the world in the US, but we do have some we do have some stuff to talk about the leagues in the US here. Without further ado, I just want to say thank you again to everybody who tunes in weekly, to everybody who comments on the IG posts, watch the YouTube videos, the little snippets that we have, comment, share, like, post us on their stories. We do see a whole bunch of people that are also shouting us out on the stories, which is awesome. So thank you for that as well. Like I say every week, tell a friend to tell a friend. I mean, it's a whole bunch of soccer fans. The World Cup is coming up next year, so I know people are going to want to hear, the teams to watch internationally and just throughout the year as well. So feel free to, promote us as much as you like. But today we have a special guest with us. Usually it's just the four of us, but for the midweek episode, we had to do a little something special for the fans, especially here in Ohio. As you know, all of us, Salam, Gabriel, Mike, and I live in, various cities in Ohio. Gabriel and I coming from Cleveland, Salam down in Cincinnati, and then Mike here in Columbus, where we are today. Without further ado, let me give it over to the hometown man. Let me pass it over to Mike so he could start us off here
today. Thank you once again, Bouba. I appreciate it, man. We thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us here on this special episode. So this is Africans Talk Football. We actually started during the pandemic, and it was just like one of those things. We were just talking about soccer, and we kind of we would literally just stay on Zoom and just talk about soccer. And we were like, why not? We have interesting conversations on here. Let's turn it into a podcast. And 13 episodes deep. This will be special episode 14. So thank you once again, man, for coming on. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Facts.
So for those of us that don't know Bouba very well, you went to high school, Westerville Central, correct?
Nah, I went to Westerville North.
Westerville North. I'm sorry. Westerville North. Yeah.
Jeez, get it right, boy. Get it right. They probably rivals.
The rivalry. Oh my God, the rivalry there. But yeah. You went to Westerville North, I believe. Yes, so I'm sorry. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you went to the youth academy at the Columbus Crew.
Yes,
correct. Sir. Okay, so now you're a pro.
Mm-hmm.
I believe is it 3 years now or 2 years?
I just finished my third year. Going into
third year. Yeah. Okay, so after year 3, how do you feel? How do you feel about being a pro? Give us a little bit into what it is, what life is like being an MLS soccer professional player.
I mean, it's better than most of the jobs, I'll tell you that. I mean, I travel just to play soccer every day. So it's pretty dope, you know what I mean? Like you said, yeah, year 3 in, again, it's just like any other job. You keep learning. You learn every year. You learn something new about the game. So third year, again, coming out of, especially with the COVID last year, we didn't have much going on last year. This year it's been a lot different, having fans back with COVID, having to do COVID tests every other day, all of that. It's been different playing soccer. Year 3 with COVID and everything. But again, we can't complain. Our job is better than a lot of people's job, and that's a lot of people's dream job. So
you talk about like just, going through the pandemic and then playing in atmospheres where there's really no crowd. So like now kind of like everything is kind of back to normal for the most part. How do you mentally and physically prepare, especially like on away games, when you know that like there's a crowd there's an atmosphere that you have to kind of play through as well too?
Yeah, it's totally different because again, last year on away games versus a home game, there was no difference. Because again, it was just behind closed doors. Whereas like this year, like you said, going back on the road after getting used to the whole system of last year where you're just playing behind closed doors. Whereas like this year you go back, you have fans now. And again, they're pushing their team. People don't understand where it's like players get like feed off the energy of like the crowd type of thing. You know what I mean? Whereas like when you play an away game, there's times where like everybody's tired, and as soon as you like the away team start hearing like their people like cheering for them, like they get that little push of energy. And whereas like now you gotta like mentally be locked in for that because like now like they try to give their all just to, like to get the point out of the game or just to like go for all 3 points. So like mentally just like being able to tune in as soon as you see like the crowd start like to feed their team like that little energy. It just mentally being able like to tune in.
Um, so I look you want to take it back, man, like because I know you're from West Africa. My fellow West African, you feel me?
Yeah.
My family from Liberia, so from Guinea. So I kind of want to take it back because I have friends from Guinea as well. So you came over here when you were 10, right?
Yeah, I came over when I was 10.
Yeah. So like kind of for you, like my oldest brother came over and he was 8. So I just want to kind of talk about like like how was that transition, from West Africa, Guinea, eating fufu, all that good thing that, and then like kind of coming back and kind of just moving to America. How was that transition for you?
I mean, it was a lot of stuff that I had to get used to. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the biggest thing is like when I got here, I guess I was blessed to be around kids that are also moving to America type of thing. Whereas Michael,
Mm.
Oak, for example, whereas like we've been best friends since we met when I was 11, 12. It was more of like being around somebody that's going through the same things you going through. You guys are able to like talk about certain things that you facing because we at first we were going to different schools. Whereas like you come here again, you have to get used to like the language, the
Mhm.
like there's certain behaviors that like you find normal, like they'll find weird type of thing. So there was a lot of things we had to fight and get through. But again, it's life, man. That's life.
So when did you feel like because you went to college for a year, so when did you feel like you finally felt like like you felt a little bit more comfortable in America? Like was it like high school? Was it college?
I I'll
When do you
probably
feel like
say
you're comfortable?
I'll probably say my first year as a professional, to be honest, because
Mm.
I've always had like the whole thing where it's like when I'm in the room, you be able to tell like I'm African because I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
people. Nah, because like growing up, like where like when I moved here, I've seen a lot of kids when I went to school, they were Africans, but like the whole stigma of like being African, like there was something wrong with being African type of thing. Whereas like you had kids try to act like hide their accents when they come to school, like they don't want their clothes to be smell like their house and stuff. So like like that type of thing, like I never care about that type of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna eat my mom's food before I go to school, like I can care less, you know.
Facts. Facts. Like good poo my man.
Like I
Good
can care
poo.
less. But like I think my first year, like I started being more like accepting of that type of thing. Whereas like on social media type of thing, like everybody talking about, oh, you have a voice. Like I'll post whatever I want to post. It's my thing. I'll do whatever I want to do. You cannot judge me based off of whatever I'm doing.
Facts, facts.
That's perfect because that kind of like transitions right into my first question. So I kind of wanted to ask about transitions, but for me, more so on the playing side. Like, when
Yeah.
did you feel that transition? Because like you said before, you were in the crew academy. Um, so you knew what it took to get to that pro level. But when did you feel that you knew that you could be a pro, and how was that transition from the academy to the pro level?
When I was in the academy, it was more of like my first year. I was like learning the game because it's different from club soccer. Whereas like you have these kids, they're a little more advanced than us players that were on club soccer. When I got there the first year, I spent the whole year basically like learning like the pace of the game, like the way they play, the structure of everything, the system and everything. Year two into a year three, like I started like really like growing into it, like growing into a starter, and after that, like I started like being a standout player in like the academy level. So the first team, I started getting called up to the first team, and that took me to a first team preseason, which was like 2 weeks away from home, just being with the first team guys. It was more like at first, obviously, you know the difference. The first team players, the academy players, you're happy to be there. Like you see these guys on TV every day, and out there now you
Facts.
get with them and
Yeah.
everything. You know what I mean? But it was after preseason, and after preseason, you come back to academy level. It's like, oh, you can see like a major difference now. Whereas like now, being with them for just 2 weeks, it gives you a little advantage like than the other kids on the academy. So they started calling us the first team training after we got back because like now it was more like, oh, it's easy for us to be like with the like the academy guys after being with the first team guys for so long. So we started training with them. Like my last year of high school, I went to like class for like one period in a day. I would go first period, leave class, go to first team training. After first team training, I still had like 2, 3 classes left, but I would come because it was more of like I was basically like a first team player type of thing. And it was like, oh, like I don't even have to be in school no more. But again, I still graduated, so it is what it is.
So then you probably started the academy around what, like 14, 15?
Yeah, 15.
And you were getting called up around 17, 18.
Yeah, 17, 18. I spent those years there. And after that, they wanted to like see me away from like my comfort zone. So they wanted me to go to college. So when I went to college, that was when I first realized I was like, oh, like I think I'm ready for first like the professional level. Because when I got there, it was more of like everybody was talking about college, like college players or like the next level compared to academy players. So I was like excited and stuff to see the challenge. My first training session, I was like, oh, nah, man, y'all cannot do this. Serious. After like a couple weeks into it, I made the call like, hey, like after the semester, I want to come back. I think I'm ready to go back. So it was when I got to college, like I seen the guys were like physically built, which was okay. But like again, soccer is not about all about muscle. It's about who can play, who cannot play. So
So it's interesting. You say, who can play and who can't play. So as a center back, I'm sure you've come across a lot of tough assignments in the league. So to you, who has been, you can name a few, but to you, who's the most, like the toughest attacker that you've had to face?
I've gone against like couple good good strikers in the league. You have Martinez with Atlanta. You have Raul Diaz with what is it called, Seattle. I put against all those guys. But again, uh, I would not say this guy's the toughest, but he's the most annoying one. Cause like you have some strikers is like after they do something, like they give up on the play type of thing. But you have this guy, he just run the whole game. And his what is it called? Burke from what is it called? Philly.
Oh, okay.
Like he's a non-stop guy, bro. You will pass him and you think you're free. And you look up, the guy's still running after you type of thing. It's like, oh man. Jeez. But it's good though, like in the game, like when you're playing games, like you be talking to them as you're playing. It's like, bro, why you run so much? Like, bro, why you still following me? It's still fun in games.
So what about? So I want to talk a little bit about like your first real game as as a pro, like the first game you started.
Yeah.
Like how did you feel? Like how were your emotions? Were you thinking about how big this moment was for you, or were you just ready to play? You were just happy to play.
Nah, I was just ready to play because I remember when I first signed, I wasn't playing, but I would. The good thing is I was with the national team, with the under 20s. So I had a lot of minutes with the under 20s. We went to the under 20s World Cup, and after that, like I did pretty good. So coming back, I had played against some of like the best kids in Europe, playing like first team minute over there. So when I came back, it was like if I'm able to play against those guys, I should be able to play against like MLS players for sure. So like the 2 weeks I had here before my first game, it was more of like having confidence at all time. So when it came to my first game, it was more of like, I just I just played in the World Cup like 2 weeks ago, so I'll be fine. I was chill.
Okay.
Yeah.
funny you talk about Europe and then the MLS, just because you were in the under 20 World Cup. So a lot of these kids are young talents that a lot of people may not even heard of yet, but we'll probably see in the next 2 to 3 years start to blow up. What do you think the talent gap is between something like that? Like when you come back from under 20 World Cup and then you have to prepare for an MLS season. Like, do you go into those two things the same, or how do you prepare for those two things, knowing that
I mean,
there is a
again,
little bit of a difference?
that's the thing is like you cannot try to like say there's a big like different level, because again, every player can shock you in like a different situation type of thing. So like you try to focus on everything as like, oh, I just got to perform to my best of my like the best of my abilities. Because again, there's games like that was been one of my biggest things where like I've gone into games where it's like my previous game I've had like one of my best games, and going into the next game is like, oh, like this game won't be as hard as that again. And I'm there like the guys are like they surprise me type of thing, and now like I'm playing reactive game instead of playing my actual game type of thing. So usually like when I'm trying to focus, like when I came back, it was more of like if I can play at this level, I can play at this level again. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if this league is below or above it. I just have to maintain that
That
consistency.
consistency, yeah,
Yeah.
that's big.
Okay, so I want to go a little bit about your favorite team in Europe. Do you have a favorite team in Europe?
Chelsea.
Oh,
Let's go. See, I knew I was rocking with my man.
This is a smart guy. I knew he was a smart man.
I should go throw on my jersey real quick. I might have to take a little costume change.
So,
You guys, man.
All right, so when did you become a Chelsea fan? Because I always like to ask Chelsea fans this. So for me, I was born in '95, so I'm 26 right now. Me, I always take it back. So I started playing club around like third, fourth grade when I was like 8 or 9, and then I had a club coach call me Dragnelius, and he said, "You play like him. I like. Are you a Chelsea fan?" At that point in time, like I was a Chelsea fan, but I wasn't like that big of a Chelsea fan. He's like, "No, I think if you watch Drogba and you like study how he plays, you'll score a little bit more." And that's how I became a fan.
I was about to say, as an African growing up in Africa, like Drogba was one of the biggest thing in Premier League. So you automatically became a Premier League fan, Chelsea fan in the Premier League.
I know you play a lot yourself, but it's like, do you watch games? Every weekend. Are you an avid FIFA player? You constantly playing, watching.
He said, "Do I watch games and stuff?
Yeah,
Like other leagues and stuff?"
yeah, other league like Chelsea.
Oh yeah,
You watch them?
yeah. So usually our games are like in the evenings. So like when you wake up, that's like the first thing you do. Like you turn on the Premier League games and just watch the games, bro.
It's funny you say that. What would you say like a pregame ritual is for you? So you got a game, let's say Columbus at lower stadium, 7:30. What's your pregame? Like, what's your day look like from start to finish?
So usually when we play at 7:30, we gotta get there around 6:20. Nah, we get there at 6, yeah, because we have a whole hour to chill. Then we have 30 minutes to warm up before the game. So usually like from I wake up probably around like 10, 11. I eat a breakfast, and after I just chill all day. And probably like an hour before I leave, like before we play a game, like you start like the feelings start getting to you. It's like, oh, like as the game, like as you get closer to the game, like even you don't want to think about it, like your body starts like getting ready for it. Like mentally, your body starts thinking about it, like, oh, you got a game in a bit. So like usually, like if I'm at home by myself, like I'll probably put like some type of like highlight games, like some videos and stuff of soccer players and stuff, and like I just like watch it and stuff, and I just chill. And I usually don't eat before like I play a game, because I usually feel like I'm heavy when I eat before playing. So I usually just chill most of the time, and I just watch some soccer videos before I go play.
So like, who do you watch? Like as a center back, do you just watch defenders? Do you watch attackers? Or like who's typically like one of your go-to guys?
Nah, I usually watch defenders. I watch a lot of defenders videos and stuff.
question for you: Maguire or Zuma?
Zuma.
Thank you. I rest my case.
You could have compared those two there. It's Zuma.
I mean,
Thank you. I rest my case.
I'm a Man United fan, Bouba, and if you were to ask me that 2 weeks ago, I'd probably say Maguire confidently, but now, I mean, it's up for debate. So
Nah, that's not
I'm
up
not.
for. That's
I'm not. The only reason why I won't disagree with Mike is because you're here. But I respect your opinion.
Now the thing is though, people don't get it. Like Ruzuma, if he didn't have his knee, the knee injury, he
Mhm.
could have been big.
Yeah,
He could have been
absolutely.
big.
Okay, so you just got done with year 3. I want to know a little bit more about you guys' playoff run last season.
Hmm.
Because you guys won the MLS Cup. You are currently the defending champions, but you
No
won't
one
have
was
a chance.
expecting it last year either. That's the crazy
Yeah,
part.
I didn't
Nobody was
expect it.
expecting.
I didn't expect it. We used to talk all the time like, "There's no way they're doing this. There's no way they're doing this," and you guys did. But tell us a little bit about like everything that went into it, like doing the whole playoff run. Like, I want to know kind of like how the mood was in the locker room.
Nah, our playoff thing, I wouldn't even say the playoff. I would say like the whole season. Our thing we clicked when we played Seattle the second game of the season, and Seattle was like considered the best team, and we played them in Seattle, and we should have won the game, but they ended up getting a PK, and we drew 1-1. And right after that, when we came back, it was more of like look around like the team we have, and if we can do this in Seattle, we should be able to do this like anywhere else in the league. So when we came home, everything came down to like our home games. Because if I remember right, we lost probably like one home game the whole year. We were pretty solid at home. And after when the whole COVID thing started, we went down to the bubble for the tournament is back, and it was the same thing over there. We lost we lost on PKs, whereas like we win 3-4 games, we only considered like one goal. So it was like we looked around, everything was like defensively we were pretty solid. We were scoring goals and everything. We lost on PKs, and that's a 50-50 thing. So when we came back, when the season started, it was like, oh, like we can defend. We know that for sure. So it's like now we have to get the attack going. And when everything started clicking, we started losing a couple of games, and like people started downing us. Right? It's like, oh, they had like a good start, they had a good run, but like now they're starting to get like we had some injuries and the national cause and everything. And when it came down to the playoffs, we had like a game to win. It was like our final game at home to win to get like a home
Mhm.
advantage for the playoffs. And we knew we were to be like playing at home. Like
Was
people,
it was it against New York?
I
Or
forgot who it was last game of the
okay,
season.
yeah,
But like we knew for sure if we were to get like a home field advantage, we had it
yeah.
going all the way because again we had
You were
only
good at home,
yeah
yeah.
we had the best home record in this in the league. So we just wanted to like get the home field advantage. And when
Mhm.
we did going into the playoff, it was like every game we came into, it was like, oh, we playing a home game. It's
Mhm.
like a home
Mhm.
game. So we already looked at it like, oh, like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
one, but we already looked at it like we playing at home. There's no way we should
Mhm.
lose.
Mhm.
That was pretty cool. And when when we saw that we were playing the final at home too against Seattle, and we played them during the season, and we seen how like the matchup went. But now we're playing at home, which gives you that little more advantage, like energy type of thing. So coming into where we scored like what 15 minutes into the game, and
Yeah.
after that it was more of like yeah, we're playing at home. There's no way we'll lose this home game.
So how was it like? How was that bubble experience? Because I feel like a lot of sports just went into bubbles. The NBA went into a bubble. The NCAA tried to do a bubble. So how was that bubble experience for you?
Yeah, it was tough at first, you know what I mean? Like leaving home for like a whole month just to go live like in a hotel with everybody else in the league, you know what I mean? And you doing COVID tests every day. You go to training, come back from training, you doing COVID test, then everybody's back in their room. Even though we eating our meals, we cannot hang out after meals and stuff. It was hard at first, and after that we start playing games. That's when we first started playing games where like you had no crowd, you know what I mean? So it was tough at first. So, but overall, it was one of them things that like when we lost, but like again, after that day, everybody was happy to go back home because again, we spent a whole month just sitting in our rooms doing nothing.
Talk a little bit more about. Okay, so now the final game is over. Like, how are you feeling right now? Like, what are you feeling? This is
After,
year 3, and you've already won the whole thing.
after like the MLS Cup or what?
Yeah, the MLS Cup.
Now, after the MLS Cup, it was more of like I didn't play like towards the end of the season, so like you already has that. I feel like I didn't do much, but again, like whereas like all the other players like around you be like, oh, don't forget when we started the season, when we went down the bubble, all the points we collected to, like get us here and stuff. Don't forget like you were part of all those clean sheets and stuff. So like it starts coming to where it's like, yeah, oh, like yeah, I did like help the team in some way type of thing, you know what I mean? And you start looking around like guys in the locker room that's been playing for like 13, 14 season. And they're like that was their first time like getting the ring. And whereas like mine, it was my second year in and I've already won the league type of thing. So it was pretty dope. It was dope.
Speaking about some veterans in the league, there's another African in that locker room, Nagby.
Yeah.
Uh, growing up from Cleveland, he was one of the big Liberians everybody knew.
Yeah.
There's a small Liberian community in Cleveland, so everybody talks, everybody knows each other. He actually ended up, playing at the high school that's on the west side. We grew
Yeah.
up on the east side, me and Gabriel, and then obviously went to Akron and then the league. So, what's it been like with him in the locker room? Just as a leader, as a player, what's it like?
Nah,
Working with him every day?
he's probably one of the chillest guy you probably ever meet with the whole soccer thing, you know what I mean? And again, like especially with a guy with like that type of skill set, he's pretty talented, you know what I mean? And off the field, he's just like you said, he's African, I'm African, he's like an older brother to me type of thing, you know what I mean? And we're pretty close. So I like him.
That's dope. That's cool.
Yeah.
So who would you say? I mean, this could be anybody. This could be more than one person, but you know, obviously, with it being a team sport, some guys, don't get the same recognition as like other people do. So, which one of your teammates would you say is probably one of the most like underrated teammates?
This year I would probably say uh one of our six, Marlo Hairston.
Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty underrated to me type of thing. He's one of them players where like he's like an N'Golo Conte type of thing. In the midfield, he'll do all the dirty work for you type of thing, you know what I mean? But again, since you don't score goals or assist, people sleep on that type of thing.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the other Africans in the locker room. Um, Playing with a guy like Jonathan Mensah. This guy is actually, like, we talk about him all the time. He's had a pretty lengthy career in Europe before he even moved to the MLS at a very young age.
Yeah.
How is it like playing with somebody like that who has so much experience and is playing in the MLS? Could easily be playing in Europe. What do you learn from him? Like, what have you learned from him just being around him in the locker room?
Nah, he's one of them guys is like again, whereas like me being one of the youngest guy and like he's like older brother to me type of thing, you know what I mean? Whereas like he plays the same position that I play. I hang out with him a lot, you know what I mean? Coming into the league, whereas like I used to think, oh, slide tackling, for example, was like the best thing you can do as a center back because I used to love slide tackling. And whereas like he tells you like he teaches you those little things. Whereas like, hey, if you read the game better, you won't even have to slide tackle. You can win the ball easily and going down type of thing, and being calm on the ball. It's like, hey, there's times like you don't need to kick the ball, just keep the ball and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like again, he has that European experience type of thing, and me being around someone like that and having the goals and dreams to like play in Europe type of thing. You know what I mean? It comes with that advantage of like I'm trying to get to somewhere that he's already been to. You know what I'm trying to say? So it helps a lot.
So in the MLS, I know it has a little stigma of people come from Europe to retire here, but in the recent past, we've seen players, Buzio being one of the most recent ones. We've seen players go over there, like from the MLS system and go to Europe. So, like, what kind of stigma do people have about the MLS that they actually don't know? Because most people think the players that play in the MLS are not that good, right? They're guys that want to retire or whatnot. But we've seen, I mean, even Zach Steffen, go to the Premier League. So like my question to you is like, tell us something. I don't know exactly what it is, but like tell us something that we as the fans we usually don't see or we don't know about the MLS. It could be anything. Like it could be anything. It could be how much goes into the youth system. It could be how much goes into game day. It could be anything. But tell us something that we usually like look down upon the MLS that is actually way better than we think. This is a
Yeah,
tough one. I just wanted to see what you pick.
nah, it's like playing, for example, whereas like in Europe, you see a defender type of thing. A defender has like 5 minutes on the ball without being pressed type of thing. You know what I mean? Whereas like here, everything is at like a high pace type of thing. Whereas like when people coming from Europe to come to MLS, is like they think the pace is like a slow pace. You know what I'm trying to say? That's why sometimes you see a lot of guys come from like Europe when they come here, their first year or two is like they have to get adopt like they have to adopt to the system because it's not as slow as people think it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay. Okay.
That's one of the biggest thing where like people confuses it. It's like that thing
Okay.
like slow. But
Mm-hmm.
especially like you're talking about young guys, for example. It was like you have older guys coming there and you have younger guys try to leave here to go to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So now like the young guy for example is not he's not taking the thing lightly type of thing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay. Okay.
But the
Okay.
older guys you think he's coming from Europe is closer to
To
retirement.
relax. Yeah.
But like the younger guys just like starting his career. You know what I'm trying to say? So you
Mm-hmm.
have
So
that
yeah.
the pace, like that set the pace for you. So when you come,
Mm-hmm.
so when you come, you know for sure the young guy's not playing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I gotta ask this, being a fellow West African,
Big one. This is a
I'm
big
all
one.
about the culture. Who makes the best jollof rice? Because everyone claims that they make the Ghanaians, Nigerians,
I mean, you're asking.
Liberians. So it's like, who makes the best jollof rice? And be truthful, be honest, because you can't, we don't lie on this show. We don't lie. So
Hey, again, my mom is Senegalese. I use Senegalese. I eat with love, so I'm
He
gonna
said
go.
none of the above.
Uh,
You got to go with your mom's home country. I think that's the rule.
I respect it. I respect it. I respect it.
Okay. So my thing is, how long do you see yourself staying in the MLS before you make a European move?
my thing with the whole thing is like moving to Europe
Mm-hmm.
is like as a young player, like you don't want to move to Europe just to move to Europe. Like you have to the timing thing has to be right for you to move to Europe type of thing. You know what I mean? And whereas like again, you have to have like game like sharing like you have to play big games here type of thing. Because it's like people think like especially like younger guys, whereas like we think, oh, from what we see on TV is as easy as that. Going to Europe and just like living up the life and type of thing. So if I go to Europe, it's like at first it was more like, oh, I want to play like this certain like this amount of games and stuff. Whereas like I have and stuff, but it's like now like I want to be in a level where it's like I feel
Yeah,
like
you want to know you're ready
like
before
I
you
feel like
make that
yeah,
move.
like I've
Yeah.
dominated like I've shown like I can dominate the league here before I
Mm-hmm.
make that move. But
All
again,
right.
one
All
of them
right.
things where, like
That's fair.
if I was given the chance to do it, I'm not gonna sit here and like decline the chance because like I want to prove something.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
So earlier we were talking about like the stigma of like the MLS. So as someone who went to high school here in Columbus, um, went through the academy system, the youth system, and now is playing for the professional team, and ultimately has won like the championship. How have you seen like the growth of like soccer in? You could speak in just Ohio and Columbus. I'm just because you've kind of been through all of that. Like, how has like the league grown in the past few years to you?
I mean, I feel like the league has grown a lot with, especially with the younger guys type of thing. Whereas like now you have teams signing more homegrown players, which are like the players coming from the academy system. And again, I feel like it's one of them things where like people just have to take more chance on like your younger players. You know what I mean? Because you see a lot of teams going to Europe to buy players to bring over players that are close to like retiring type of thing. And they have younger players like now playing type of thing where it's like you can you can like develop the younger players and sell them to like Europe type of thing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
So I feel like over time, like teams are starting to like invest more in the academies for them to bring like players to the first team.
So we talked about it a little bit earlier. You talked about starting the academy, young into your careers for around 14, 15. What would you say to those players, that, are going to be in your shoes, starting to maybe get into academy wherever they are? And what would you say to someone who thinks they're at that level to try to get to, to college, to try to get to called up to the first team? What would you tell somebody who's just now hitting academy or just now, playing soccer, but at that level to where they think they can take the next step?
The biggest thing is like everybody's journey is different. Like everybody's like route to first team is different because you have some guys that require a couple years in college for them to be mentally, physically ready for college, and you have some guys in the academy that are ready for first team thing type of thing. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's just like being honest with yourself. Just because you see somebody ahead of you, don't mean they're gonna be ahead of you forever. You know what I mean? You can have someone leave academy, go straight to first team, and they don't play professional league. They only play for like 2 years. You know what I'm trying to say? And you can go to college and come and play like 10, 12 years. You know what I mean? So don't judge yourself based off other people's like status and stuff.
You know, now being a pro, you kind of experiencing the life, you won everything and everything like that. I just want to talk about kind of just how's your adjustment been, like African, coming from, low-key kind of humble beginnings. And then now, you've kind of reached this level just for you, how have you been able to just, stay humble through it all and just, now you're at this point, how's that transition been for you?
I feel like mine is like I still haven't even like transitioned to like the whole professional lifestyle yet. You know what I'm trying to say? Whereas like I have money in the bank account. I'll go out. I'll be like, oh, I'm broke. I don't have money. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I have food at home. Like there's no need for me to go spend my money outside when I have food at home type of thing. Because I feel like that's the thing. Like the biggest thing is like in the moment people try to live like focus so much on like having good time now. Whereas like they don't really like invest in their future type of thing. Because like my career is only like 10, 12 years. So whatever money I make during that time, I wouldn't want to be doing any other job after playing soccer. So in order for me to do that, I have to be smart with my money now.
Facts. That's
Yeah.
right.
Feel that. Well, I think that's it. I think everybody got their last questions in.
Bro, we appreciate you coming on again, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank you once again for coming on. This was fun, man.
I appreciate
It
you
was
guys.
fun. It was fun. Thank you.